Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Normally I stream these, but my upload speed for some reason today is absolutely tanked. So I'm just gonna record it and upload it normally whenever it manages to upload. Um, it's not like that many people usually come into the streams, so it's not that big of a deal. I encourage people to come into the streams. It's always fun to chat, but I digress. Playing a little RimWorld here. Despite what I initially thought about the whole thing, I have been enjoying the Odyssey DLC. Um, I didn't embrace it enough going in. This idea of like a mobile ship base and everything is about the ship and stuff and traveling around. But it is a very fun way to play RimWorld. I recommend it. Anyways, um, this week on this channel, we had Dominions, of course, always, forever. We had solo RPGs, and the views on those are getting pretty down in the dumps, so I might actually have to take a break from uploading those for a bit. Give people something to yearn for. And also Ashes, which I thought was going to finish this week, but I guess I recorded more of those than I thought I did. I recorded a lot of like boomer shooter stuff and Doom stuff for the last month or so. So that kind of Ashes was the start of it, so it feels like a long time ago now. I forgot. But it should end this week, I think. Also, Two Brothers Play and stuff, and our role manging stream where I did a one shot of 13th Age. And Putt Putt. Tonight I'll upload the last video in the Putt Putt series. I have been working on the script for that video, the Putt Putt video, and you know, it's coming along. I don't work on it like constantly or anything like that. It's just occasionally I'll be like, yeah, I should put in some words, and then I'll sit there and whatever just kind of flows out. So it's coming along. Right now it's like 10 minutes long. Yeah, turns out I have a lot to say about old Putt Putt. I haven't even gotten to talking about fucking Outback Al. I have no. Every time I do an April Fool's video, it's just like, is this funny? Is this amusing to anyone? I have no idea. I find it amusing, and in the past, that has not really steered me wrong. You know, because it's like, it's not like I'm not making jokes or anything. I think I do very unique April Fool's videos. Where it's like, it's sort of a ridiculous kind of topic concept, but I'm presenting it very sort of straight. This is my analysis of the Putt Putt universe. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing various reactions to that come April 1st. Anyways, we're on the Exploring series. More Fifthist SCPs, which turned out to be kind of a big hit. It's like my #1 video I've released of my last 10 videos. people really wanted Fifthism. Who would have thought? So yeah, that's good. Can't complain about that. Anytime a video actually does pretty well. Let's see what it's at right now, shall we? It's at 104,000. It's pretty good. But tomorrow I'm releasing another SCP-001 video on a portrait of hell from Yossi Posse, DJ Cactus, and Tufto. That's quite the little dream team there. And initially I thought it would be one part, but I'm terrible at estimating these things. So 2 parts, and the first part is like 55 minutes long, and the second part is going to be longer, so it's pretty long, but that's because I'm basically reading the whole thing verbatim. Yeah, it's gonna be something. I mean, it's not gonna be for everyone, of course. It never is when it's more like a tale than an article. But I think it's really, really well written and really cool. So, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's damn good. So, it is what it is. Right. That's basically it. So part 2 of that next week, and then other things the following weeks, and so on and so forth. I really should do another Lovecraft reading soon. You know, it's Lovecraft readings I tend to hold on to until like I need to do something extra. Like, oh, I don't have anything this week, or it's like an extra special thing of some kind, like October is often, you know, Lovecraft's month kind of thing, but it's been a while, and I probably should do one. Just maybe like a 20-minute one, or some Cool Air would be a good one to do. Wait, you got a divorce during the festival? During the marauding fair, while you were letting the sky lanterns out? You decided that was the best time to get a divorce? Well, that's really annoying. Fuck. Yeah, that threw me for a loop. Yeah, but it's like, I don't really want to work on a Lovecraft video and an April Fool's video and big SCP videos all at once. So maybe come April, maybe for my birthday, we'll do a special Lovecraft reading. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I have been playing Resident Evil Requiem a little bit. I've been recording it, and it's okay. Yeah. I think I'm just really not a Resident Evil guy. Like, I've never replayed a Resident Evil game, and you see these people are like, I'm on my 3rd playthrough now, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like, it's not like Factorio or something, you know, it's the same game. each time you play it. Like, I don't know. But yeah, it feels still, it's just so slow and clunky, and at this point it just feels like, it's purposeful, it's by design. But it's so illogical and dumb. I mean, I don't know if any of you have played it or watched people play it, but the entire character of Grace and how she plays and how she moves is just so stupid to me and horrible. Like, watching her run, like when you press the sprint button or whatever, is just ludicrous. And I don't know how they can actually get away with this and get rave reviews for it. Like, it's ridiculous. So I don't know. Like, it's just like, she's so slow and horrible and clunky, and I thought she would be fast and nimble and dodgy to try to avoid, because she's not a fighter. She's, she's evasive, but she's not. She's just a bad. She just has like muscular dystrophy or so. I don't know what it is about controlling her. It's just so slow. And then I thought, okay, well, Leon's gonna be a big badass tank that's just shredding zombies left and right like I'm playing Dark Souls, but he's also just slow and kind of clunky, and his melee attacks are really weird looking and feeling. And then, I don't know, just aiming in third person with a controller feels not great anymore for me. I don't know. Like, I'm playing it, but I'm not loving it, is how I would describe it. It's a game. It's a freaking game. So, I'll keep going, but, like, I started playing The Dark Rites of Arkham. Which is a point-and-click adventure game from the maker of Nightmare Frames. And that I've been really enjoying. It's like 1933. It's the main character is this like hard-boiled noir detective. So I get to do the Murphy Law voice through the whole game, and it's just like this is a lot more enjoyable. So yeah, I can't really believe how good the reviews are of Resident Evil Requiem. Like, I can see, okay, if you're like a diehard Resident Evil fan, it probably appeals to you, but people are calling this a masterpiece, like the best game Capcom's ever made, like game of the year, and it's like, what? What? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Anyways, let's talk about RPGs, I guess. So we recall, after last week's blow up of LEGO failing to DM a Shattered Ark campaign, that we had a discussion, and he still wanted to DM, but he decided he was going to DM 13th Age. And I said, okay, well, to give you a little bit more time and stuff, I will DM a one-shot. The funny thing is, of course, LEGO is one of the biggest procrastinators on the planet and has no sense of time organization or anything like that. So, really, I didn't give him an extra week. I gave him an extra week to just not think about RPGs. Great. Because I think still he has not started prepping anything for his campaign. And he said that he'll do it basically at the last minute. Which to me says this is not a person that enjoys DMing or thinking about RPGs in his spare time. Because that's because if you enjoyed it, he would do it in his spare time. he would not be thinking about it and procrastinating like it was homework or something like that, you know? So obviously he doesn't really enjoy it, which I, the rest of us have all talked about this and said that none of us believe that this campaign's going to go for more than like 2 weeks. Because if he's not into it, if he's not into preparing it and into reading it or whatever, um, it's a chore, and when you have a voluntary chore that you're basically deciding to do, that's probably gonna fall off pretty quickly. But regardless, to help all of us kind of get back into the system a little bit, I ran a one shot called the Wreckage of Valoon's Glory. Oh, I see. You're sleeping on the floor. That's no good. I'm just gonna piss you off real quick. I see Anarchist won the bed in the divorce. Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to switch to a bunk bed here. Or just throw an extra bed in. Right, so The Wreckage of Balloon's Glory, it's from Cobalt Press. It's a third-party adventure written for 13th Age. And it seemed pretty short enough, simple enough, that it would be a decent fit. And it was. They all had a lot of fun with it, which I was kind of surprised, because I felt it was, like, extremely linear and railroaded and just, like, here's a combat, here's a combat, here's a combat. Which means that they enjoyed the combat, which for 13th Age, I suppose that's a pretty good thing, because it's relatively combat focused. It's pretty basic plot of, like, there's this MacGuffin magical item that was stolen by some dwarves who fled on an airship. The airship crashed out in, like, the wasteland, and the players are sent to go retrieve it. Right? Pretty simple. And there are other parties interested in finding this, and so they're trying to waylay them. And so they reach this small little frontier town. They get ambushed by some creatures. They go further into the wasteland. They encounter these ghost goblins and their tribe, which they can fight, or maybe they can talk their way through. And then there's another combat encounter in the canyons. And then they reach the airship, which is sort of wedged into this canyon. And there's like this mysterious fog that's filled with these zombies, the zombies of the dwarves that stole the item. And then in the airship is the final sort of villainous party that are about to get the magical item, and you have to stop them, right? It's pretty simple. Well, it's kind of interesting, though, a little bit fun, that the module offers like 6 different groups of villains. And so you choose one at the start to be like the main villains that appear at the end, and then you can pick like 1 or 2 other little groups to appear along the way. So you can actually run it, it can be a little bit different each time, but not super different, obviously. It's pretty railroaded and linear. And it mentions, like, depending on which groups you pick, especially for the main villains, you can, like, leave little clues or breadcrumbs along the way about what they're going to be facing. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. It's a very quick little one-shot. It's like 2 hours long, and it's just a few combats, and that's sort of it. But, like I said, they all really liked it. They loved it. So they're very excited about more 13th Age, because they get to be big heroes, and they don't have to worry about dying that easily, and they can actually fight stuff, and which is, yeah, that's true. So, I said, when Lego inevitably fails and gives up DMing, I'll probably stick with 13th Age for a bit and DM something with 13th Age, depending on what kind of campaign he runs. He said that he's probably going to run Shards of the Broken Sky, which is a 13th Age campaign. And depending on how I like it, after he gives up, I might just continue running that. I obviously haven't looked at it. If not, if it just doesn't feel like a great suit for the group or whatever, um, then I'll probably run some sort of Pathfinder adventure, maybe Rise of the Rune Lords or something. Obviously, this is a group that does not care one little bit about railroading, and really, I should pick like the most railroaded campaign of all time. Whatever is regarded as the most railroaded 5th edition campaign, and just run that because they'll love it and they'll never get like confused about where to go. The thing is, it would probably help at the start of that to just tell them that, look, this is the most railroaded campaign of all time. You don't really have to debate too much about what to do or where to go. Whatever is the most obvious answer, just go with that. And they would be like, oh, okay, good. So yeah, we'll see. As far as where I'm at as like a player, I'm excited to at least play a session or two. Which, like I said, that's probably all we're gonna get out of it. I have a nice character, this sort of dwarven explorer wizard that's he's lawful. He follows the law and everything, and he's an explorer, so he's courageous enough to kind of get out there, but his motto is sort of like never do anything yourself that you can hire someone else to do. So he's gonna try to kind of wheedle his way out of some stuff and try to avoid some encounters, but when it comes to it, he'll do the right thing. He'll fight if he has to and all that sort of stuff. I wanted like a general kind of easygoing enough character for Lego to deal with. But yeah, I'm not crazy about the idea of like combat focus, because I generally think combat is pretty slow and tedious, especially with this group. But we'll see how it goes, We'll see how it goes. Like, I'm not that opposed, because I think 13th Age combat is fairly entertaining, and it better be, it's sort of the point. And most of them are playing pretty simple characters, they're playing like fighters and rangers and stuff. They're not going to be sitting there going over all their 100 abilities for an hour like, 4th edition D&D became. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like, no expectations, no disappointments is always my motto. So we'll see. I would like Lego to get more into it, but he's just such a scattered, disorganized person. And unless you're very good at just improvising every session and everything, that's a recipe for failure for DMing. Like, you have to be somewhat organized. You have to do the prep. It is a responsibility. And a lot of people enjoy that responsibility. You know, there are plenty of people that are forever DMs because they like all that. They love the world building and doing it and being, and being in charge of everything like that. But obviously he doesn't enjoy it that much. So, you know, a recipe for failure. But we'll see. We'll see. Gosh, I mean, that's kind of about it, isn't it? Oh, I guess I could talk about some AI stuff. I talked about, I think, this last week a bit. That I was working with Claude to create a Dominions mod. Did I talk about this last week? I don't even remember now. But yeah, I used Claude AI to make a Dominions mod of a Cataclysm-inspired nation. And I recorded a video of it, of me playing the nation. And it's, I did some more work on it afterwards, and it's in a pretty good position. I probably could release it if I wasn't squeamish about, the sprites that I took from Cataclysm and everything. And I don't really want to deal with, like, people's bug reports or all, whatever. So it's fine. But when I eventually release that video, if people want the mod, I can give them the mod and we can discuss it. But yeah, putting it on the workshop, I'm not too interested in. But yeah, so it was a really interesting experience because I don't know anything about modding Dominions, really. I really have no idea. But Claude can do it. It handled it all. It's a playable nation, undoubtedly. I played through a game. I won. Whether it's a good nation or a balanced nation is a little harder to determine, but it is playable. So, pretty cool. And then I also used it to make a little RimWorld mod that just, anytime I get a new colonist, it assigns this sleep schedule to them because I was sick of having to set it up each time. And then I wanted to tackle a big project with Claude. And that is putting in Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead into the Archipelago randomizer. This was obviously a lot more daunting, but I have been working on it. It is a lot of work. It's not just like you tell the AI, I want Cataclysm in Archipelago, and then it just says, okay, let me sit here for an hour. All right, here it is. Enjoy. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of input you have to put in, a lot of little testing you have to do, and iterations and all that sort of stuff. Piece by piece. It's not super simple or quick. So right now, what I have not touched the Archipelago side of things pretty much at all. Like, that's a secondary consideration. The first step was really like getting everything down with Cataclysm itself. Being able to like put items into the game, being able to read information from the game and all that sort of stuff. And so it wrote this Cataclysm bridge program in Python that I run alongside the game. And this reads the save files as they're updated and reads like my character information, reads like the world information and stuff like that. And it's gone through several iterations. Originally, my first thought was to use like the bordered scenario, which is a specific scenario you can start with where it cuts out a section of the world and puts this basically impenetrable wall around it. And you play within that specific section. So it condenses the massive, infinite Cataclysm world into just this one small region that you play in. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty good because then, it's a self-contained little thing. We can condense the whole experience down for this randomizer, so it's relatively small and completable, with our end goal. The problem is that the way the Cataclysm World Gen functions is you can't individually place things into the world. You can't say, I guess maybe you could. I mean, now that I think about it, because we are placing items with our bridge program at a specific coordinate. So now that I think about it, maybe it is possible, but it's too late. Maybe long time down the line, I'll rethink the bordered scenario. But when you're just doing world gen and you create, say, like an item, like my thought was the end goal should be to gather a certain amount of like Cataclysm tokens or whatever, and these would be randomized throughout like the Cataclysm world and other Archipelago AP worlds, right? It's a pretty common concept and goal for archipelagos of this like MacGuffin collectible that you have to get. Rather than being like my very first thought was like, okay, the end goal is just going to be to like complete a lab and that's it. But when I was thinking about the bordered scenario, the problem was I couldn't guarantee that a lab would be within the border, right? But then the problem with the Cataclysm tokens is like I don't want them just spread throughout the world in like garages and stuff, like just a random loot item. Like that's way too tedious and horrifying, and there's no way to really control properly how many of those there are in the world. So then it was like, okay, how about we just create like a new map location? It's a specific thing on the map that we put into the world, like any sort of building or location. And it's like an archipelago cache, and each one of those contains one Cataclysm token. And so you just have to go around and find those caches and you get your token. And we implemented that, and that functioned and everything. It was fine. It was good. It was visible on the map and blah, blah, blah. But again, the same problem of there's no way to guarantee that the border will contain those specific locations or like you can put in a very high probability of this thing generating on the map, but again, it's all randomized, it's all procedural. So your border section might have 3 of them inside the border, it might have 30 of them inside the border. There's really no way to guarantee that or control that. So at that point I was like, okay, the bordered scenario probably not the right way to go then, because there's just not enough control over it. We need to sort of lean into a bit more of the chaos and the randomness. And then that's when I remembered Sky Island and how good of a fit that is for Archipelago, which was my original thought when I played Sky Island. Because that is more like an extraction shooter, which it has 2 benefits. One is that if you die down during an extraction, the run isn't over. You just go back up to the island, which is really good for Archipelago because the whole point is that you should never be able to fail a run, which would be one of the problems with normal Cataclysm. So that's really positive. Secondly, we then don't have to worry about guaranteeing anything because you can just keep doing these extractions and going to random parts of the world, and eventually you will be able to locate everything. So we implemented that. We started borrowing everything from Sky Island and just making sure that was the scenario and putting basically the Sky Island mod as a dependency for our randomizer. So if I ever publish this, it'll be called Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead Sky Island. Because that'll be the randomizer. So then we wanted to figure out putting items in, reading information. So that's when the bridge program came into play, where it had to kind of figure out how to read information. And by default, Cataclysm heavily compresses all the save information and the map information. But this is a toggle that you can turn off. So thankfully, you can leave it uncompressed and readable, by the bridge program. So that'll have to be just like a required setting when you run the randomizer. You have to have your world uncompressed. But anyways, so from there, we can then read basically everything about the character, everything in the log, everything in the world. We can have the bridge program read, which that includes your stats, your skills, your kill counts, items you're carrying, items in the world, all that sort of stuff. Everything. Obviously, everything is in the file. So then I had to think about, okay, what do I want the actual checks to be? What do I want the locations to be in the world that we have to complete in order to get items sent to us? And I thought, okay, well, skill progression is a pretty easy one. And so to not go overboard, we basically have it now set where you get a check when you get 2, 4, or 6 in any of the skills. So if you get athletics 4, that's a check. If you get fabrication 2, that's a check. So that's a decent number of checks right there. That's sort of the bulk of the checks right now, actually. Just leveling up all your skills, which is probably not the most fascinating thing to do, because a lot of that can be leveled up through like practicing, or various, just sitting in your home and crafting or doing other stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, like blunt 6 or something, like you're gonna have to kind of get out there and do it. It might be tedious to get all your every single skill up to 6. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Then kill checks. Killing is a pretty major part of Cataclysm, so of course that had to be checked. So obviously just blanket number of kills. I think we have like 1, 10, 25, 50, 100, 500, 250 and 500 or something. It's not that many for those, but it's like, killing like 1,000 or 5,000 zombies, that takes a very, very long time usually. Then more specific stuff of like killing a human, killing a mammal, killing a robot, killing a plant monster, killing an insect. And then actual specific creatures, like killing a zombie soldier, killing a SWAT zombie, killing a zombie Hulk, killing a skeletal juggernaut or something. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more I could really do with that other than just like sprinkling in all sorts of other like specifically like killing a grappler zombie, killing an acid zombie, killing, like every sort of, killing a fat zombie, killing a tough zombie. I guess, it's like I probably should, because it's not a manual. It's all going to be automatically fired, so it's not that big of a deal to just throw in all that little shit. I haven't implemented it yet, but then the next thought was like actual like item checks of like finding a blow-up doll or finding a bottle of Chardonnay, and then putting it into our archipelago portal, which is a new sort of object. Originally, this was something that I was going to have the players construct themselves to put it wherever they want. But thankfully, with the change to Sky Island, now we can just put it on the island alongside the other couple objects that are sitting there. Oh! Boom, baby. So yeah, there's the archipelago portal. And with this, I might have to make 2 versions of it. I might have to make like an input and an output, because right now the way, again, I don't understand how to mod Cataclysm. Let me be very clear about that. I really have no idea what it's doing under the hood or anything. But the way that it's set up now is the portal we can send items to. So it basically can write items into the save file, and they will appear in the portal. So when you complete a check and it sends you an item like a gun or something, it'll appear in the portal. The problem is these only appear in the portal once you go on an expedition. Once you leave the Sky Island. And anything that is in the portal when you go on an expedition gets deleted. So right now I have it set up where if there's anything in the portal when you're about to go on an expedition, it'll give you a warning, like a pop-up saying, hey, there's shit in the portal. This must be some sort of technical limitation. I don't know. I have no idea. That's what it sounded like. But that means that if you want to put anything into the portal in order to send it as a check, that's going to cause a conflict because it's going to get deleted. I don't know. So I'll probably have two versions, like an input and an output. So then you're going to put in like a bottle of Chardonnay or a body pillow or a gold ring or something, just like random little miscellaneous stuff. Because Sky Island already has a lot of that sort of stuff written into it for like the missions you'll do. It has a bunch of missions built into it to upgrade the island, and a lot of it is like find a body pillow or whatever, find a golden ring or find some silver. So you're already kind of doing this sort of scavenger hunt of finding this random miscellaneous stuff, but now we can also just make that part of the checks. Yeah, and then as for items, I've got like a bunch of different guns with ammo that you can get, special just ammo resupplies you can get. You get piles of bandages, you get piles of antiseptic, MREs, an arc welder, a hacksaw, just like anything that I think of like sometimes you struggle to find or would be really useful to have, things like that. So like guns and a lot of ammo and stuff like that is probably going to be a lot of filler items that are in there. And then, of course, the Cataclysm tokens, because I decided that it's going to be kind of annoying and tricky when considering part of the randomizer. If every archipelago cache is a location, as far as the randomizer is concerned, that means that something that someone might need in order to like continue or progress in their game is in a specific archipelago cache located somewhere in the world. And since we're randomizing, the whole world is randomized and we can't control where we go on expeditions, and there's no way to really guarantee how many caches there are, that means that someone's item might be just practically unobtainable. Like there's really no way to ever know where it is or find it, and that's pretty bad design. So at this point I decided to just scrap the whole idea of the archipelago cache because it's just not controllable enough. It's still the same problem. So now tokens are just part of the item pool. So you might get a gun, you might get bandages, you might get a token, and that's a lot more controllable then. Because all the locations are controllable, their skill benchmarks, their kill milestones, or their items you specifically put in. And yeah, the item stuff is tricky because it might take a long time to find a body pillow. But, I think of it sort of like RimWorld, the RimWorld randomizer. It has the same thing of item checks, and sometimes it can take a very long time to be able to submit one of those specific item checks. But I think that's going to be kind of part of the fun. I feel like the Cataclysm rando is going to be async only. I feel like it's going to be a long thing. Not necessarily, but yeah, I really should try to skew it towards more of a shorter experience. But when you're talking about the skill, like driving up to 6 or swimming up to 6, like Imagine something crucial for someone else's run is gated behind swimming level 6, and it's like, I guess. I mean, some are better than others. But I probably should skew this towards more of a slightly quicker experience. Um, just in general, I think Archipelago is generally better if you do it that way. And it's more the fun about just like the situation and doing the expeditions for Sky Island and trying to find like specific items and killing stuff on the way. Um, and randomizers are generally kind of easier because of the nature of it being random, and you often get items given to you that are ahead of the curve and make the game easier. And so that's so some of the items that I have in the pool are like these elixirs, these mutation items that just increase your stats permanently. So there's 5 of each, so you can actually have potentially +5 to your strength, dex, int, and perception, which is pretty significant. And I think we're also looking into just like other bionics that just give you like sort of superpower, to like high end bionics that you might just get and be able to just like instantly install in yourself. Um, so yeah, I mean it's gonna be interesting. I think it's been a very kind of entertaining process because, like I said, I don't know anything about modding Cataclysm, but I don't have to at this point. Like, I basically just tell it what I want. It does wizardry. It gives me shit to put in the folders and run. I run it, and if there's any errors, I just like screenshot it and give it to it. And it's like, oh, okay, well, let me do this, and then it fixes the errors. And it's like, I know AI slop, blah blah blah. And if I was running Microsoft, yeah, I probably wouldn't want people using Claude AI to write our code for an update. That would be pretty dumb. But for me, as a person just sitting here playing video games and wanting to play Cataclysm and Archipelago, this is enabling something that would never happen otherwise. Like, I would never sit down and try to write all this. I don't know how to fucking write Python code, and I don't really want to learn. And yeah, the code is probably somewhat spaghetti. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But damn it if it's not functional. Like I said, like I played as that Cataclysm nation in Dominions. That was functional. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna keep working on it. I really want to see this through to completion and actually have it be a playable thing. I don't think it's gonna be allowed on the actual Archipelago server because it's sort of an adult thing. There's drugs and it's probably because RimWorld is also on the After Dark server because it's not rated for youngins. It's too violent, I guess. Um but still, it'll be something even for personal use once in a while of like, yeah, I'm gonna do a Cataclysm run. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's that. All right. Uh, so this week we got more Ashes, more Dominions, more solo RPGs, and eventually Resident Evil Requiem, I guess. Um, the start and maybe end of Lego's 13th Age campaign on Wednesday. And over on the Exploring series, we have part 1 of SCP-001: A Portrait of Hell. It's good stuff. But my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I'll see you fine folks next week.